Battlefield 6 is under a lot of pressure.
Video game's better than what it is, and while Battlefield 6 is a 5 out of 10 video game, I know a lot of people think it's better than that, but when I'm comparing this like for like with older Battlefield games, it is not better than the vast majority of all the older Battlefield games. If you're a Call of Duty player, you're going to like it, and yeah, some of the footage later on in this video will show you exactly why I'll be glad when Black Ops 7 comes out. I know
Battlefield 6 is under a lot of trouble. Sincerely, we are under a lot of pressure right now. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 cost about $500 million to make, and Battlefield 6 just released its numbers. Yes, it does have still 352,000 players, but there is something else we need to discuss today, and that Battlefield 6 has actually released its numbers. Battlefield 6 has sold more than 6.5 million copies in 4 days, which is awesome, but this is literally a game that took 4 years to make. The game has generated over $350 million in revenue. So in terms of a financial, it's definitely up, but we gotta talk about the reality. Now, a lot of people are saying that Call of Duty is over this year. It's not gonna help, it's gone, but the game generated over $300 million in revenue. Steam accounts for 65.7% of total sales, which is bad. There's a reason why Call of Duty only has 50,000 players, 52,000 players for that matter, is because most people don't play on Steam. They play on Battle.net or the older gen consoles. They even are controlling the PlayStation 4 and the old Xbox market share, while Battlefield cannot even afford to do that at this point because it needs a total studio and a remake. I think it was like High Noon Studios that is doing the new older Battlefields basically for the older engines. But 65.7% of total sales with over 3.5 million copies sold and generated more than 220 million in revenue. Now, I'm not too sure how much Battlefield cost to make, but I'm guessing it cost maybe $400 million. I'm not too sure because Call of Duty, cost over $500 million over its cycle for a single game, and it generates $3 to $4 billion. So again, this is statistics we have. PlayStation 5 makes up for 23.7% of sales with more than 1.5 million copies sold. And Xbox Series X accounts for 20%, selling over 1.2 million copies. So where the game is performing best globally, the United States is top market, making up to over 1/3 of the game's player base on Steam. So that is awesome to see, but we got to talk about the real elephant in the room. Is that Call of Duty is literally dominating the market right now, and Call of Duty revenue is about a few billion per year. So if we check Call of Duty revenue, it made $30 billion in 2022. So it probably made more now. They have sold over 500 million copies and 100 million monthly active users across all platforms, and they also have Warzone. While Warzone is not performing well, it's the leading thing across USA. So just let that sink in, is that yes, while Battlefield 6 might just hit on the end of profitability, their single-player campaign wasn't really doing that much at this point. And we do have another big problem, is how will they compete with Call of Duty Black Ops 7, which releases every year, versus, well, very much Battlefield 6 that releases only every 4 years. That is because they're not making enough revenue at this point. If you even check here, 47,000 players is a very small number. It's because Call of Duty Black Ops, or just Call of Duty in general on Steam, is not that much played compared to Battle.net, Xbox Game Pass, market shares for consoles, which unfortunately we don't have data for that, but I'm guessing it's far, far wider than Battlefield 6 right now. So Battlefield 6 is going to feel a lot of pressure once the new Warzone updates come out. The reason with Warzone, it has gotten really lazy because they had zero competition. Battlefield 6 Battle Royale will need a serious revenue model to release games every single year to compete with like Call of Duty. And I still don't feel like people will outperform. So Battlefield 6 is in fact under big pressure just because, yes, these player count, 750,000 players, is awesome number, but this is the maximum we're gonna see, right? No game has ever gotten more popular than before, except maybe a few ones like Fortnite. What do we have? Apex Legends, Rainbow Six Siege, and those numbers were way, way smaller than something that Fortnite, for example. Fortnite and maybe Pokemon Go are the final ones in that list. But we are seeing right now that a lot of players are simply moving on. We lost already half the player of the player base. The Battle Royale is coming, what, December or potentially even next year to combat Warzone's new updates, which they have released a roadmap that's really, honestly, terrible. It's really terrible, but at least they are doing something at this point. So games like Ark Raiders made extraction shooters really popular, and that is something that Call of Duty is also going to be going into with their blackout mode or the blackout map. It was actually really confusing to understand what's going on. But the blackout experience is going to be extraction shooter in 2026, which makes me very, very excited to play. But we are just not going to be seeing, Call of Duty the same anymore. It's never going to recover to 2020 stages. But the big issue with Battlefield 6 is the gameplay we saw for Battle Royale. It doesn't offer anything new. The Battle Royale experience is super competitive. It is a very, very niche market, or well, it's a very wide market, but the amount of players that are there already is already taken at that point. People are moving on to other games, and the only reason Battlefield 6 is getting bought up is basically in spite of the Black Ops franchise. Now, of course, the destruction is awesome, but there's nothing really game-changing in Battlefield 6, something that would really make you go, wow, I need to buy this game. And a lot of games start like that. We saw Ark Raiders, which was an extraction shooter. It went super popular, but it's not enough to sustain the hype.
Years and years, of the developers not listening because they don't need to listen, because people keep on supporting the game. All the toxic monetization systems they have in place. But yeah, Battlefield, guys, can we just have some large maps? Like, just give me some maps. Or at least give me a playlist, right? So I don't have to go in custom search. Just put a playlist in, large maps only. That's all. Just name it large maps only.
This is one of the key advantages that Battlefield had over Call of Duty, is providing just better maps, or bigger maps for that matter, and vehicles. While destruction is now a big part of Battlefield, it doesn't really sense that, wow, this is gonna be out of the ordinary. Yes, there is destruction. You can destroy rooftops. Again, it's not all destructible. We saw like how Finals does it. That game died as well, unfortunately. But it was made by the ex-Battlefield devs, and you could just go around and shoot everything. This is a big issue here we are seeing with COD.
Be advised, hostiles attacking Bravo.
Right back! We've got rockets! I'm tracking a hostile tank in the AO.
Yes, the game is cool, but again, if you waited 4 years without any actual content, we saw Battlefield 2042, which was a total flop. It was the biggest disaster ever, and a lot of people were fired for that. We are seeing now that Battlefield 6 is really a love letter, which Battlefield 2042 was just a rushed slop at that point, and we saw that the Battle Royale that they're doing is basically a remaster of what they should be doing in 2018, but really rushed it. So I'm really worried at this point. Like, the Firestorm was awesome in 2018, but is it enough to save Battlefield? And my honest answer is no. Especially on 14th of November, Call of Duty Black Ops 7 releases. We have more content inbound. We saw the numbers. We saw how many sales Call of Duty is doing. It's literally having millions and millions of sales every single month. And regardless of what people think of it, SBMM sucks. I get it. But people will keep buying it